My lords, I'm afraid I'm going to disappoint a lot of your noble lords for whom I have a huge amount of respect. But I'm afraid I do not think this bill is necessary. And that isn't to say that I thought the old system was good, because it clearly wasn't good. But this new bill is actually worse. It could have been better, but it isn't. And so personally, I'd like to see it scrapped. However, in the meantime, our job in your lordship's house is to actually try to improve it and try to get the government to listen to our improvements and understand that they are improvements. In the previous group, the noble lady Chakrabarti talked about overreach, and that's part of the problem that I have with this bill. But it's also the fact that, as some noble lords have said, it's a dangerous world, and we have to do what we can to keep people safe. And that's all very true. And all the examples that the noble lady, the minister, has given about how to use these powers are very reasonable. However, at some point, you have to ask yourself, what are we prepared to lose to keep ourselves completely safe? And in the previous group, again, the noble lady, Lady Whittaker, talked about liberty and democracy. And those are some of the things that we are losing with this bill. And it's an erosion. And your lordship's house is very concerned about that erosion of democracy, more and more powers going into statutory instruments. However, on the two amendments that I have tabled, they require unlawful conduct, which goes beyond the criminal conduct authorisation, or should not have been authorised in the first place, be reported to the police or to a relevant oversight body, for example, the Independent Office for Police Complaints. And my amendments, my two amendments, 75A and 75B, actually reveal a deafening silence in the bill about what happens when something goes wrong. I very much hope the noble lady can explain that to us, because what happens when an authorisation is granted that clearly shouldn't have been? And what happens if somebody goes beyond their authorisation and commits additional criminal offences? My Amendment 75A would require that the authorising authority refer to the police any criminal conduct which is not authorised. And my Amendment 75B would require unlawful or improperly granted criminal conduct authorisations to be referred to the relevant oversight body, for example, the IOPC. And this is actually a gaping hole in the bill. We're talking about criminal activity. We're talking about authorising crime, state-authorised crime. And the police and other government authorities must not be complicit in criminality, which goes beyond the legal authorisation in this bill. Otherwise, it creates an additional quasi-authorisation where handlers can just sweep things under the carpet when it's quite dangerous to admit that they've done it, and they can pretend that it didn't happen. I hope that the Minister will recognise these gaps in the bill and work to address it at report stage. Thank you.